What's up guys, this is Astranox. I'm going to be summoning for Holiday Yufine. Let's start it off here on account number 3. I will be showing you guys how I've built her on account number 2. This is on my third account. I'm trying to get her here as well. So let's do some X10 summons. She is a limited hero. Is she worth getting? Now we have a collaboration coming up. It's not worth it, to be honest. Like, if you're low on resources, you should definitely be saving for the collaboration coming up, because she was already buffed, guys, and her performance has not increased like drastically. She's a hero that you need to land your burns, and it's not gonna happen 100% chance, right? So there's that, and I can't skip this. Oh my god, okay, maybe that's it. Maybe that's her artifact. You need to have the Guilty Gear collaboration limited artifact called, good lord, I had it the tip of my tongue in like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's the burn artifact. It will come back to me. So I got Champions Trophy. That's good. I'll try her on that. I don't know, man. Maybe later on, because I like to have her on the burn build. So the problem is that those burns are not landing 100% chance, right? And then you need to use skill number 3 to get her greater attack buff, so she can actually deal as much damage as possible, and you push the combativeness of your whole team as well. At the same time, you remove up to 2 debuffs. So if you don't land your burns, then that's a big problem, right? You can land burn with the skill number 3 using the artifact, but it's really when you start using skill number 1 that you're starting to land those burns. Wait a second, you cannot land it on skill number 3. I'm crazy, because the artifact only works for the skill number 1. Junkyard Dog is the name of the artifact. So if you don't have that thing and you want her to deal damage, I can't skip this. My god, I got her. God. Okay, so with Junkyard Dog, you're able to deal some pretty good damage, but the burns need to land. And if they're not landing, it takes a lot of time for her to build momentum. That damage is not happening instantly. You use skill 3, get greater attack buff, you start using those skill 1s, no burns, rip, right? You need to get into a long battle, and if she doesn't have good survivability, now with the buffs, she actually has a decent amount of evasion, so that's pretty cool. And I'll be showing you guys how I've built her. Wow, look at this. That was actually on the same X10. I didn't join the 121 club, feels good. Look at this, that's actually quite beautiful. That might be the first time that I actually got the 5-star hero with the 5-star artifact all in one X10 pull. I mean, it can't get any better than that, basically. So yeah, pretty hyped about that. Let's jump on account number 2, and I'll show you guys how I've built her and continue talking about if she is worth summoning for. But if you're tight on resources, the short answer is not worth it. And now for the way I've built Holiday Yufine. This is on my second account. Let me show you. She's at plus 15 skill ups. And if I don't sound too loud, it's because I'm in a hotel. It's 2 in the morning, so bear with me. Okay, so the way that it works now after the buffs, right? I believe that this chance was increased by some like 5% to land a burn for 1 turn. But if you really want some burns, man, it is about this artifact, the Junkyard Dog Guilty Gear limited artifact. This thing is really good because the burns will last for 2 turns. So yeah, you get a lot of value when you're able to land those burns. Now for the passive, it's great when you're fighting a team that has combativeness pushback against your team. So the effectiveness of that will be reduced by 50%, which is quite helpful, right? Like Bazaar, for example, which he cannot actually land his attack versus Holiday Yufine when she's at maximum health, because the evasion portion here, right? She has now 70% evasion when she's at maximum health. She used to only have 50% evasion at max health, but now she gets a 20% permanently. So that is pretty solid for survivability increase. And the fact that she's fire versus earth versus like a Bazaar, he will be at elemental disadvantage. That means 50% chance of missing his attack. So together it adds up to 100% chance of him missing you when you are at 100% health. If you are under that, if you don't have 100% HP, then he still has 70% chance of missing you, which is pretty huge. Now the skill number 3, you actually remove 2 debuffs from your whole team. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. A lot of value on this skill because not only she's getting greater attack buff for herself, 75% attack increase, which is huge to scale the burning, right? So this thing pushes the combatness of your whole team by 20%. The soul burn allows you to reduce the cooldown by 2 turns for only 10 souls, so you can cycle this thing more often, give combatness, remove 2 debuffs from your whole team, and have a higher uptime on the great attack buff on herself. So 15 skill ups, the way I've built her, and memory imprint, attack percentage for herself, which is pretty good. The first one is twice as strong as the following ones. You don't need memory imprints, to be honest, guys. Maybe you got a green Yufine that you can feed into her, a spare one, something like that, or you can have health for the front and bottom position. It doesn't affect herself. So that's my setup that I have. To be honest, like, I would like her to have maybe more survivability, and to be honest, I would recommend something like 12 to maybe 15,000 HP health and have a decent amount of defense. Maybe like at least 1,000 defense. Maybe try to bringing it up to like 1,200, like me, almost 1,300 on my build. Build that attack up. You want as much attack as possible because the way that burn works is here. It says that it's proportional to the caster's attack. So it is actually twice as strong as a bleed. A burn is based on 30% of your attack and it penetrates 70% of the target's defense. You don't need defense break debuff on the target. The burn just has it's built into it, like that 70% defense penetration. So it definitely packs a punch, but there's a delay because that stuff is not happening instantly. You will be using that skill number 3, right? And then you'll start spamming that skill number 1, which attacks everyone. So that's a good thing. I've tried her before. You can check my videos when I showcased her, on a build similar to this. I tried her with even 100% crit chance with crit damage, and I actually ended up with something that doesn't need her to have crit chance because it's all about landing those burns. So I'll just show you guys my gear real quick. You definitely want to build effectiveness on her because you want to land the burns of the skill number 1. Now, the burns from the Junkyard Dog, from what I remember, is that you don't actually need effectiveness to land those burns. So that's pretty solid right there. So yeah. Now, right here. Now for the gear, okay, I went with immunity set. It's important that you have that on her because if you want to use that skill number 3 to remove all debuffs on your whole team, she needs to be like the fastest hero on your team, so you can actually do that whole thing with the skill 3. Remove 2 debuffs from everyone, push combatness by 20%. So if she's faster than the rest of your team, you're gonna get a lot of value from that CR push that she's bringing. And you want her on immunity because you want her to be a reliable hero to cleanse the debuffs on your whole team. Sometimes you don't want her to be too fast, so I actually tried to build her faster this time. So I took some of my gear that I had on Senya. I took some of the gear just that I didn't enhance yet. I did enhance it, I reforged it, and I ended up with almost 4,000 attack. The survivability, I really wish she had something like at least 12,000 HP. It's almost 11,000, so it's okay. I'll try her with that, almost 1,300 defense. But yeah, if I could get something like really godly gear, like 15,000 health, 1,200 defense, 4,000 attack, effectiveness at like 100% plus, I would definitely be happy with that. But the big problem with this hero is that if you're fighting a team that has immunity debuff, you will not be able to land your burns. The burns, they do account for like the majority of your damage. So it's really important that you're able to maybe use a hero that removes the immunity set off of the enemy team, or maybe actually it's not too bad because if you use the skill number 3, you're not going to be landing any debuffs, right? So the enemy will be going after you do your thing, and then they will not have their immunity set anymore. So that means you're going to be able to start landing your burns. Now, if you're fighting a team that has like a hero that brings immunity for their whole team, that could be really devastating. So you definitely don't want to pick her early on in the picking phase. Pick her near the end, and you're going to be able to do pretty good if she stays alive. So that's also the thing. If they decide to bring a bunch of ice heroes, you're going to be at a heavy disadvantage. If you have Seaside Bellona, what happens is that you're just giving her a bunch of focus. And when you give a bunch of focus to Seaside Bellona, she just starts triggering that skill number 2 nonstop. And with Riengar Special Drink, it's just so much damage, and it's going to be ice versus fire. You will be in big trouble, and your whole team will be taking so much damage because you keep on doing AoE damage that hits everyone with skill 1 and with skill number 3. Now, yes, she does have some evasion, permanently 20%, but I don't think that's enough for you to drop her survivability that much. So with a build like this that I have, I'm trying to maybe go first and surprise the enemy with the high speed that I have. 242 is pretty good on her. So maybe I surprise them, I'm able to go first, and I'm able to maybe take out one of their hero initially, and that's going to be a pretty solid start for me. But if I wanted to have her stay in the battle for the long run, I would have her definitely with better survivability. I would sustain her with health, barrier. I would bring defense buff. I would have Aureus on a knight, maybe Adamant Shield. All these layers of protection will keep her in the battle longer. And it's going to be about maybe just keeping her alive, and all those burns will eventually take out someone on their team. Now, it's not a reliable way for you to actually take out their heroes, but like throughout the whole battle, it definitely adds up, and it's a ton of damage against the whole team. Now, if they don't have any sustain that heals their whole team at the same time, and if they have a hero like, let's say, a Ruel of Light that heals one hero at a time, unless she has, because her soul burn on skill 1 actually heals their whole team by a lot. But if she doesn't have that, she doesn't have the souls yet, if the healer just cannot keep up, because Holiday Yufine will be doing too much damage if you're able to keep those burns up on the enemy team. So it's very luck based, 50% chance here, burn for 2 turns. But I've had many times in battles where she was able to stack the burns, but you definitely have to keep her alive, and you don't want to be fighting a team that has super high offensive power, because they're just going to nuke her out of existence and it's going to be done. Now, for her own artifact, you're going to be able to get some effectiveness. You're going to be able to, potentially stun. When you only have this thing at plus 15, that's 19.5% chance to stun for 1 turn. When you use a basic skill, which is her skill number 1, it doesn't trigger on a counter attack, dual attack, and extra attack. But that artifact, it can definitely come in handy. You want her on a support build. Now, I'm talking like 15,000 HP, 1200 defense, and even more than that, high effectiveness. And you probably want her with maybe it's not so much about high attack at that point, because you're trying to land those stuns. You're trying to disrupt the enemy with those stuns, and that skill number 3 will be super important to remove debuffs and to push combationness. Of course, she can deal some damage, but if you have her on a support build, the main focus for her is not to actually deal damage, is to hopefully disrupt the enemy team. But the stun chance is not going to be that high, so it's not going to be something super reliable. I like to have her, do her thing with the burns. And actually, even on a support build, you probably want her to have a decent amount of attack, so she can actually act as a secondary damage dealer. But once again, not something reliable. At least they buffed it. Now the chance is 75%. Not too shabby. And also, she is at elemental advantage. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, the attack is not going to be at a disadvantage. So that's pretty cool. And it allows her to not have to worry versus ice heroes. But once again, like I said, if you're fighting Seaside Bellona, you definitely don't want her to be facing a Seaside Bellona. Even if she can land her burns or whatever, Seaside Bellonas will be built slow, and the counterattack from the skill 2 constantly will just take her out, and your whole team will be taking a barrage of attacks, and it's just going to be way too hard to sustain the team. So I will be trying her out once again now after the buff. I can't wait to see how she performs. I'll try different combinations, like herself plus Lilius is also very powerful because great attack buff on herself. Big attack, Lilius scales off of the hero with the highest attack, and you build Lilius with something like this. Crit damage, you have Portraits of the Saviors to even boost the damage even further. and you scale, you max out the skill number 3, and she's going to be dealing so much damage because it will be scaled based on the highest attacker on the team. And Holiday Yufine will be, she's at like 4,000 attack, and then the great attack buff will be boosting that attack by 75%. So it's pretty sweet. A lot of potential there, and Lilia's Memory Imprint also helps to boost the attack of Holiday Yufine. But that's 2 fire heroes, and you definitely want to pick those last in RTA because the enemy will just be picking some ice heroes. So once again, try to aim for high attack, decent survivability, at least like 12,000 health, maybe 1,000 defense, or up to like 1,200 defense, or maybe more. Speed, don't have too much. You definitely want to go after the enemy bazaar pick, and the effectiveness, you want to pump that so she can land those burns. Now the thing is, she's not worth going for because even after the buff, she's not going to be strong enough, and it's too hard to position her. The enemy can definitely counter pick her early on. You got to be scared and pick her last, and there's not enough situations where this hero will be shining a lot, and she always do AoE attack. So versus General Purgus, that's combat your nest for the enemy team non-stop. If versus Seaside Bellona, a big problem right there, you're just going to be taking too much damage. Martial Artist can, with immunity, the constant counter attacks. Let's say you don't build her with crit chance, but still there's that chance that she does land a crit. Somehow she just manages to land crits more often when you're fighting a hero like Martial Artist can. Like Champion Zerato, the burns land on him, he counter attacks, throw that back at you. His attacks damage plus the burn damage together, which scales off of your own attack, because that was the burn you applied with Holiday Yufine. He throws that back at you. It's really deadly. That's why you definitely want to pick her last. But there's a lot of counter to her, and that's really problematic, right? And also counter sets, you have to worry about that. They can just counter her non-stop and just take her out of the equation right off the bat. So that's why another reason why you want her to have a decent amount of survivability. If you're low on resources, you definitely should save for the collaboration coming up. But if you have a lot of currency, you like what you see, and you check my showcases, and you feel like she's gonna be helpful to you to have her in your roster, then go ahead and summon for her. Hopefully you guys get as lucky as me with the summoning. That was some really crazy luck right there. But yeah, so if you're looking for an emulator or a new phone, check the description of the video. Stay tuned for my showcases. Let us know what you guys think about Holiday Yufine in the comment section. That's it for this one. I'm Astranox. Good luck with all you do. Peace out for now.